This game's fun. Before we begin today's video, I should mention that I love a good first-person shooter. When I was young, I played a lot of Call of Duty. A lot. Like, a bunch. There was something about Twitch shooters that drew me in. It was always a rush whenever I won a match or got a lot of kills in the game. They were designed to pull you in, and thanks to the original Modern Warfare, shooters quickly became Twitch shooters, and those Twitch shooters use Skinner box systems to help keep their player base well populated. It's hard to make a game that's fun to play for 10 hours, let alone 100 hours. Those types of games are rare for a reason. It's really hard to keep a game fresh and unique long enough for such a long play time. You need to do quite a lot to keep a player base active and playing. You could go the route of constant content updates, introducing new weapons or maps to a game, in the hopes that this will retain players. You could also introduce community events like Double XP weekends or pistol-only Tuesdays, but there exists another method that's far more challenging to a developer. Simply make a game that is infinitely replayable. What? Games that allow for a massive amount of different approaches to gameplay, or games with intelligent AI that completely changes a player's experience from one playthrough to the next. Ready or Not does not have either of those, but man, wouldn't that be dope? I spoil my impressions on the first page. Ready or Not is an okay game with a few problems that will more than likely be ironed out before its full release. I feel the need to harp a bit though, since they're charging players $40 for the game. I'll save gameplay conversation for a bit later, since I'm guessing most players just want to know if it's worth their money. Is it? No, not really. But it's not far off. I would have gladly paid $30 for this game, but in the end sprung for the full $40. At the time of this recording, I only have 5.7 hours in Ready or Not. This is strictly a first impressions video recorded on January 11th, 2022. Ready or Not is a tactical shooter through and through. It's a SWAT game, the kind of game that necessitates a good communicative team. Players who will help plan a raid and follow orders if needed. When you find yourself in a lobby full of like-minded people, this game is incredible. There are a handful of different ways to approach any given map, and when I say this, I'm mainly talking about routing and equipment usage. The guns, more or less, function very similarly. At least the classes do. Assault rifles are similar, submachine guns are similar, shotguns are similar, but obviously a shotgun doesn't feel like assault rifles. I'm getting bogged down in semantics again, aren't I? But yes, you can choose several different routes through any given map, as well as different equipment and loadouts. If you want, you can use non-lethal methods of operation, meaning it's far less likely to encounter a civilian casualty. Or you can just go in guns blazing and shoot everything holding anything remotely gun-like. Well, you'll obviously be penalized if you shoot a civvy. Ready or Not lets you go about most maps in any way you'd like. Do you barge in the front door, or do you go around the back? Are you quiet, or are you loud? Do you use flashbangs and stingers, or do you go with the good old C2? There are plenty of choices, and a well-coordinated team will use a variety of equipment to route any given level. So, finally, let's talk about gameplay. You play as a team of SWAT officers tasked with infiltrating any given map. There are several game modes, with Barricaded Suspects being the most common one that the game seems particularly built around. Not all modes are available for all maps, but the developers have stated that they will extend more modes to more maps in time. But yes, you are a SWAT guy in a team of 5 SWAT guys. Your goal changes depending on the mode, but let's talk about Barricaded Suspects for now. In this mode, you need to infiltrate a building and successfully save all innocent people and try to bring order to the chaos. Some suspects will raise their weapons at you, and some will drop the weapon if you shout at them. Most will not. It's a split-second decision you need to make, and it is a deadly situation that you will find yourself in quite often. You will not be penalized for defending yourself, but that's not the ideal outcome. The ideal outcome is to arrest as many suspects as possible, and in fact, this is usually required. Barricaded Suspects sees you and your team infiltrating a building full of, suspects and civilians. All you need to do is bring order to chaos and save all the civilians, which is harder than it seems. A non-lethal approach is safer, but is also quite dangerous for the SWAT team. The non-lethal weaponry is not as quick to incapacitate as, per se, a bullet is. It's genuinely difficult to clear maps and not get yourself killed. The game rewards slow, methodical playstyles more than anything. And if you're thinking you can just run in guns blazing, well, you're only partially wrong. Most of the time, that will get you killed. Once you've brought order to chaos and saved all the civilians in a map, you may have side objectives to clear as well, like collecting evidence. Once you've finished everything, the mission ends and you're graded, often poorly. When I say that gameplay is slow and methodical, I mean it in a good way. It's often extremely rewarding to finish a map with an A rank at the end. This game really makes you feel like Batman, like a SWAT team, and boy is it a blast. Especially since there aren't any real-life consequences like death or being charged for manslaughter for accidentally capping a civilian. The AI for the enemies is a bit stupid, but I mean, there's already mods out there to make them a bit smarter, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt. Bullets penetrate walls, obviously, and suspects will sometimes use this to their advantage. After all, they don't have to worry about civvy casualties like you do. This goes both ways, however, and spraying into a wall can sometimes yield favorable results. There are also traps. Traps are placed in doorways, but there are a few problems with them. You can disarm them if you spot them, which is either you'll see them on your side of the door, or if you peek a door and without opening it fully, you'll see it on the other side. The problems are thus. There are always 3 traps in 3 doors on any given map, at least the ones that I've played. They are always on a door, and they are always annoying. These can be flashbangs or grenades. The grenade timer is almost instant, which I find kind of stupid. It could be fun to hear that pin being pulled and running the opposite direction in a panic. It could create some fun gameplay moments, but alas, it's almost instant. What this does is slow down gameplay even more, but also negate the effectiveness of battering rams and breaching shotguns. These will always trigger traps if a trap is on the other side of the door. It's a bit of a bummer that I can't just destroy every door I come across, but hey, you know, them's the breaks. Before I forget, let's talk about doors. Doors are neat, right? Pretty cool. I like them. I've used a lot of doors in my life. No, but seriously, in Ready or Not, you can interact with doors in 4 ways. You can peek them, meaning you'll open them just a crack, usually enough to toss a grenade or flashbang through them. You can open them fully without any dramatics. You can kick them down, which always feels friggin' awesome. Or, if you have a corner gun, you can peek through doorways and see inside. Oh yeah, there's also the fact that you can use a breaching shotgun. How about that? A well-built team will usually have one of each equipment archetype, meaning your approach to clearing any room can be quite varied. Equipment changes gameplay greatly from playthrough to playthrough. It's fun being the breaching guy, it's fun being the corner gun guy, and it's fun being the C2 guy. All of these designations are quite enjoyable and help to keep gameplay fresh from hour to hour. If single player is more your style, then don't worry. You're given a team of computer players to work with who have a decent array of commands that can be given. I wouldn't always use them because it's funner to play as a team with other people, but hey, if your internet is down for a while, they'll be more than good enough to play with. But that's the gist of gameplay. Quite slow, yes, but quite fun. The sound design is wonderful. I like the music and the general sound effects.
Shut the weapon! Get down, I want to see hands!
My mom has a Mexican maid. You might know her.
The gunplay is nice and feels hefty, as it should, and I have no real complaints about it. I wish we could use the guns the civilians use, just for a laugh, but they seem restricted for no real reason. There's supposed to be PvP in the future though, so I hope that will be as fun as it sounds. And maybe then we'll be given the chance to use civilian weapons. There's no sprint, by the way, you always walk. Keep that in mind. There may be a sprint added in future updates, but it would probably ruin the slow approach to any given map. Other modes are neat, but I'm more interested in Barricaded Suspects, Raid, and Active Shooter. There's a bomb defusal mode and some others that I completely forgot about and I'm not going to bother to look up, but I figured I should bring those up since, you might be curious what the game has to offer, and I'd say there's a decent amount. Some of the maps are massive, and that is great, but it also means you're going to be spending a lot of time clearing them. There are a few bugs, and the enemy AI is a bit stupid right now, but I hope that they'll iron these out in the future. I found a section of wall that I could fuse through, and that was pretty neat, but also kind of stupid. Obviously, the developers have plans for more maps, and hey, there are even a few test maps in the game, but I really hope they make every mode available for every map in the future. I should also note that I was running this game on a GeForce 960 and ran into quite a lot of performance issues, even on medium settings. So, you know, I mean, it's a 6-year-old graphics card. I'm sure modern graphics card will run this with no problems. If you're into tactical shooters, this is probably the best game you're going to find for a while, especially since Rainbow Six is edging closer and closer to Call of Duty with every update. You could do a hell of a lot worse, is what I'm saying. I look forward to future updates, no doubt, but I'm still a bit sore on the price of the game. $30 would have been perfect. I mean, hell, Insurgency Sandstorm is $30 and has a massive amount of content and frequent updates. Ready or Not is a blast when you're playing with a well-oriented team who knows what they're doing, and kinda sucks when you're playing with a bunch of mouth breathers. If you and your friends are looking for a great shooter, well, okay, so maybe wait until the game is done. I say maybe because the price is no doubt going to rise upon full release, and I want the game to be finished, but at the same time, early access is often used as an excuse not to finish your game, and a lack of people buying your early access game might lead to it not being finished. I want people to support the developers, but at the same time, I don't want another Squad situation where the developers put their thumbs up their asses for 5 years and refuse to release a solid version 1.0, then claim to have released a solid 1.0, only it's terribly buggy and stutters constantly. Ready or Not is a little rough in a few different ways, obviously. I mean, of course, any developer worth his salt is simply going to point toward the early access icon on the store page and nod smugly. I, however, would pose that if I paid $40 for your product, then it better be a damn good product. Ready or Not isn't at a level of greatness yet, but it's rearing close to it. Iron out the bugs, add a few more guns and equipment loadouts, and cut your price just a little bit, and then polish your enemy AI, and I'd probably wholeheartedly recommend Ready or Not to anyone craving a good tactical FPS. Though, keep in mind there aren't a ton of options. Thank you for watching. I don't know if I'll ever do a full video on Ready or Not, but hey, if 1.0 is amazing, I'm sure I'll tell everyone about it. I don't usually do first impressions, but I figured there might be some people on the fence when it comes to buying this game, so hopefully they'll understand it a bit better after watching this. I'm Grant the Hierophant. I make YouTube videos about games and occasionally make shorts with my friends. If you want, subscribe. I would appreciate it. Thanks again for watching.